I've been reminiscing, man. I had flashbacks of 2014, the 75 mile an hour windstorm. You just seeing you over and over and over again. Probably one of the top 3 craziest things I've ever done in my life was that World's Toughest Mudder. But a lot of good memories, my friend.
Okay, forget about an official start. That's a great start right there.
No whining.
No quitting.
Overcome.
No excuses. Community. Teamwork.
Tough Mudder.
Tougher together.
No excuses. Hey to all my Mudder family, my OCR brothers and sisters, and to you listening to this podcast right now. You're my peeps also. And I am your mirror man and host of Tough Mudder's podcast, No Excuses, Sean Corvelle. Today I get to talk to Yancy Culp. Now, Yancy has been involved with the Tough Mudder and Spartan world for over 10 years as an athlete and trainer. In 2015, he created Yancy Camp, where he and his wife Amy work with top athletes and OCR participants of all levels. He is one of the people in this world that I feel has his fingers on the pulse of the OCR/ultra running universe. And in our conversation, we talk about the differences and similarities of Tough Mudder and Spartan. We talk about his gracious, aggressive approach to mental and physical conditioning, how he created Yancy Camp. And we get to know a little bit more about him as a son, husband, and dad. Now, you can feel an undeniable passion for life in the Mudder community and the OCR world. Yancy has that too, and inspires it in others by his actions and his words. To me, he sounds like a motivational soul singer when he is encouraging us to live a healthy, active life, celebrate fitness, and say yes to challenges that make us better. And if called to lead, Yancy says serve. Here is Yancy Culp on No Excuses.
I knew at some point now we're going to spend a little time talking about that crazy night.
Oh, dude. I got to headline a lot of dinners because of that story. That was crazy. And you're referring to that 24-hour World Toughest Mudder event where it was just epic out there in the middle of the night. And this speaks a lot for these athletes and the people that come to these events. A lot of them were still out there, still getting up and hitting out there and just moving forward with this epic windstorm. You couldn't see anything.
The visual that I had this morning when I was like, I'm going to be on with Sean today. That's going to be amazing. Is, I don't know if you remember, the very top of the mountain, you come up and then you're on the right as you start coming down, there was this cargo net that was tightly bolted down to these tires. And you got through that. And the very next thing was a timing mat. And I don't know what lap it was. I was probably going into mile 35 or 40 or something. It's crazy windy up there. And I'm walking up to the timing mat and I see it just go and fly off the side of the mountain. And the little box goes with it and everything. And I'm like, dude, you know what is hitting the fan here at World's Toughest Mudder 2014.
Well, let me ask you this, Yancy, because you have that same mentality. What is running through your mind in that situation?
I probably give my mom and dad credit, cut from the same cloth from them. I just grew up doing hard stuff and it just kind of became the norm. And I, even before Tough Mudder and Spartan and all these things came about, I always found myself doing something a little crazy, signing up for something that was a little crazy. And WTM was just like the ultimate, it was like the ultimate box I could check and doing that. And it was just, it's heaven on earth for me to have that opportunity to go put yourself through something like that. And I was always the guy that, like, once or twice a year, I had to have something that was big and epic like that I was not going to specifically train for.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to feel it in like its rawest form. Like, yeah, I'm going to come in fit, but I wanted to feel it like, I didn't spend 6 months training for this. I just want to feel how it just kicks my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is, that's a lot of what I'm about. You've heard me at the start lines for Tough Mudder and my conversations with people on this podcast. I want that feeling. I know the physical we see. I know the training that people do for it, and all that stuff is important. But man, I feel like if that part isn't there, that heart, that soul, people give up. They'll walk away from the hard challenge, Let me say this. I know you through, again, I've seen you at these events, and I've seen you working with our top athletes, our top OCR, ultra, I'm sure all types of athletes that you work with. And I'm going to blow a little compliment your way. You look amazing, my man. You're looking very good.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. And you're somebody I know also. You don't just talk the talk, you run the walk, as you were explaining. I'm going to tell anybody right now, any questions you might have about this gentleman professionally, and you just want to get to know part of his heart too, go to Yancy Camp. I believe yancycamp.com is the website. A lot of information there. I'm still going to ask you some of these questions, man. You have great pictures here. Who are some of the top athletes you've been working with?
From the ultra side, athletes that people would recognize, Morgan Mackay, Joshua Fiore, spent some time working with Chris Mendoza, Allison Ty. Miguel Medina is somebody that just an salt of the earth human that, speaking of 2014, he was on that winning team with Hunter McIntyre and Mark Jones and Dennis Welch when they won, edging out Deanna Blegg's team from Australia. But Miguel and some of the other names I've worked with from the ultra side, those are some of the names that I just have a wonderful relationship with. Miguel's been there. So I always lean on Miguel. He's been there since day one. I launched Yancy Camp in 2015, and he was one of my first roster athletes, which basically allows people out there. If you're training for a World's Toughest Mudder or a Spartan Ultra or something, you can team with Miguel and I, and you kind of see some of how I'm helping program for Miguel, and it's kind of a triangular approach. Myself, the coach, and Miguel, and we're able to go back and forth. On maybe some of the shorter sides of racing, athletes that are kind of in the, I was going to say Alex Walker, not on the ultra side, but Alex finished fourth at World's Toughest Mudder one year. She's kind of one of those well-rounded athletes, could step into some of the shortest races you would ever think of to the longest, and she's going to have a shot to end up on the podium. Ryan Kent, have a wonderful opportunity to work with Ryan Kent. Over the years, I've just had a wonderful opportunity to work with a lot of great athletes. And the cool part about it is I had a little bit of a name for myself as a coach in the Tough Mudder and Spartan world. So people reach out for questions, and then they'll stay in the program for a while. And after 3 or 4 months, I'm like, or maybe 6 months, like, man, you're doing really well. Would you like to be a roster athlete? A great example of that right now is a Bridget Brown, really up-and-coming athlete that I think we're going to see on the Spartan and the Tough Mudder scene, really can do some damage out there from the short and maybe even into the long. I think what's so cool, as a coach, Sean, I've always said, this is kind of the approach I've taken, is the first question I ask when I start working with somebody is like, are you enjoying what you're doing? And if we snapped our fingers right now and you woke up when you were 50, you were my age, would you look back on your 25-year-old self, 30-year-old self and say, man, I enjoyed the process. It was so much fun. Or are you just in the grind right now because it's all about trying to get on the podium? Or I'm a firm believer, no matter what level of athlete we are, if we're talking with an Allison Ty or a Morgan, these types of athletes that are coming to try to win these things, or somebody just trying to maybe get their 25-mile patch, are you enjoying the training? Are you enjoying the process? If the answer is yes, that's great. If not, we got to readjust this. We have to adjust the training, the race schedule, all of it to where I can help make sure when you wake up when you're 50, 60, you look back and say, amazing. I'm so freaking glad I had that opportunity to have that meshed into my life. I have phenomenal memories. So to me, it doesn't matter if you're chasing podiums and championships or you're just trying to find the finish line. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, and one of the things I was going to ask you is, are you working only with these top athletes? And once again, you answer that on your website, that you're working with people that just saw an OCR and says, wow, I want to learn how to train and do one of these. So you're on that level also. Is that right?
Honestly, I'd say there's a larger percentage of athletes that are just kind of getting into the sport, wanting to get their feet wet with it, and they're not chasing podiums. Many cases are not racing at an elite level or an age group competitive level. They want to dive in. That's one of the things that makes our sport so great is go out and share the exact same course with Ryan Atkins, Lindsey Webster, John Albin, Chris Mendoza, Trevor, Alice, and these type athletes that are, I like, there's cyborgs out there, but you get to go, you get to go share the same course with them at the exact same time. And not every sport, and I definitely consider us a sport. Many people consider it that. To be able to share the course with those people is really cool. So yeah, to answer your question, I've got a lot of athletes that are just out there to check that box and as we say on the DECA side, celebrate fitness with everybody else out here. If it's 24 hours or if it's 1 hour or anything in between.
And if somebody came to you and say, hey, what is an OCR? I keep hearing this OCR thing. What is that? How would you describe that to them?
Oh man, I got my little elevator pitch answer for that one always ready. To me, what OCR was for me, Sean, if I'm doing the shortest Tough Mudder or world's toughest Mudder, anything in between, if I'm doing anything over at Spartan, what it puts me as a 50-year-old, I started when I was about 39 or 40, we'll say 39, I've been doing 11 years. It takes me back to my childhood when I would just run free. Didn't matter if I was running free in town or out in the country, wherever, just being a freaking kid. Okay, there was nothing that we really had prior to Spartan and Tough Mudder and all this stuff that was like, just go be I'm an old kid when I'm out there. I just did the stadium race at AT&T Stadium, Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I ran around that place just bobbing and weaving and doing the obstacles. I'm doing a race in Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Are you kidding me? Or out in the desert? I mean, it's like I'm a kid. I'm getting to be an adult. I get to, for a little bit of time, I get to go be a kid again in an adult body. And to me, there's no greater answer to what the whole Spartan and Tough Mudder and everybody else that's in the market of providing races. We're allowing you all to be a kid again. And that to me, that's the ultimate answer, brother.
Yeah, all those times that your parents, when you were a kid, I said, don't get dirty out there. Don't get in that mud. Well, we're the parents that are saying, like, I guess that would be your uncles and aunts. Get in that mud. Go ahead and get dirty. Get crazy with it.
You ever noticed that, like, when it rains there's a certain age of kid this gravitational pull to stomp in the mud puddles?
Yeah.
It's like, is it 10? When do we say, well, I probably shouldn't do that anymore? We don't have to stop doing it now.
No.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you get rewarded for it. And
never stop.
Yeah. You learn to appreciate that feeling for doing that too. Just letting go, man. You're one of those people I consider in this world, the OCR world, the ultra world, the running world, that sort of has your finger on the pulse of the whole universe, that whole universe. I think of Matt Davis, the good people at OCR Report, tell me, because what I'm thinking about right now is in Florida last year, we had an event where both Spartan and Tough Mudder were sharing the event. They had it separate, but they were sharing the area. Mm-hmm. And I saw a lot of people, and a few people did all the events of both of the companies, both of the events. Tell me, what is the difference of Tough Mudder and Spartan?
Well, I've been in a unique situation for many years, collaborating and working with Joe DeSena, owner founder of Spartan, and before the Tough Mudder Spartan merge, and I would bounce back and forth. I would go do Tough Mudders throughout the year. I would do Spartans, and I always remember telling Joe, I said, "Listen, there's something a little different. And it took me a while to really find the right definition. For a couple years, it was like, man, this is something a little different. When you show up on site at a Tough Mudder and hanging out with those people, and the fact that a very high percentage of them were not there to race. Like, how fast can I run this course? There was something like this tribal collaboration of minds and humans getting together. And it was like there's certain times in life when I was in the military, when I played team sports, and when I would show up at a Tough Mudder event, it was like, hey, all of our differences didn't matter. And I get that feel at Spartan as well, but I remember always getting it a little more at Tough Mudder. It's like, hey, we're pushing everything aside. It was like being around 5,000, 10,000 people that everybody would give you the shirt off their back. Everybody would be like, what do you need? I got you. And you know, the difference in the culture with, it's like, Ryan Atkins could be passing me, and if he sees I need help, he's going to give me a boost, or vice versa. I would give him it was like, that was just a different look and feel. And Spartan was a little more, and it still is today, and they both have a wonderful place. And then Tough Mudder created, you know, some of their true specific where we're racing today, but they found a way to never lose that unique piece of, there might be a picture of me post-race, a couple days later, I'm right there with Ryan Atkins, and we're helping each other. Yeah. You know, you just didn't see that at the Spartan side. It was a true race. Everybody was kind of seeing what their time would be. And I do think there's value in knowing what your time was, you know, and like, because it's going to push you a little bit. Maybe there's a little more training going on. But that was probably the biggest difference for me. And I think I love that I love being on the calls with the executives behind the scenes now. And it's like, we got some Tough Mudder people and Spartan people in the same call. And there's that mesh, because I was always interested in how, you know, there's a percentage of Spartan people like, I'm not going over there. And the Tough Mudder, I'm not going over there. And I was always in the middle, maybe 20, 30%. I was like, dude, whatever's coming to driving distance within Yancy, I'm going to be there on the weekend. But I think that was, I think where Tough Mudder really won was that feel of a tight knit family for the next 3 to 4 hours or 24 hours. We're going to be, it's the largest family gathering ever on planet Earth. It's happening right now in the desert or wherever we were. But really and truly, the culture of people at every OCR I've ever been at is, and I mean, I don't mean to call him out on the carpet, but you go to a triathlon, you're not going to get that. If there's 5,000 people competing in a triathlon, they're all dressed up in their tight uniforms, and it's like a little more robotic. You go to a big time race, you just don't have, there's something about the way we did it all. And I think we all played a part. You know, each individual person played their role. It just felt like a big, huge family gathering, like the family reunion where everybody's bringing the potluck, you know, at the park. Yeah. This was just a 5,000 person potluck at the park, man.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I started working with Tough Mudder in 2011. And in what I call the circle, where we take that knee and we start talking, really, I try to give perspective on why we're there, not just the physical of it. And I remember back in the early days, like you said, somebody would be in there with a Spartan shirt on. And if I had addressed that person, you'd hear like a little smattering of boos. And I was saying back then, hey, you don't boo anyone out here living their life to the fullest. I don't care if they're skiing, jumping out of a plane, walking around the block, you know, what they're doing. We don't boo them. You know, that's somebody that we support people being active. So I've sort of been pushing that narrative for a long time. The community thing, the same thing, man. That's what I felt at the events. You know, that when I ran my first Tough Mudder, that was the thing that I enjoyed the most. The walks in between the obstacles, hearing people's stories and getting to know them, a lot who's become family and all that stuff. And this is what I've gotten from, again, Spartan. One of the reasons I love Spartan, like you said, and Tough Mudder have merged. Thank you, Joe, for keeping us alive over here. And because it's the same heart. They all have the same heart. You know, they may be exercising it in different ways with a different flavor. But man, it's all the same people. That's why I was surprised to hear that there wasn't the big turnover, or I thought a lot of people that were doing Tough Mudders were also doing Spartans and vice versa. But then apparently in the research, it wasn't as many as I thought. I was surprised by that. Are you surprised to hear that?
I always was. Every time that would come up, I was always shocked that there was a little bit of a, you know, it was like it was separation. But like, I'm a Spartan and I'm a Tough Mudder, and I almost like that's the enemy over there. And I think there was probably a time when, you know, I'm super transparent. I think there was probably a time when Joe and Will kind of fed into that a little bit, maybe, but there was just a little tension, but between, and I love that it's meshed together now, because here's the thing. And if you're, you know, just away from the Tough Mudder event and the Spartan event, we're in situations all the time where a large percentage of people bring negative attitudes, bad, pessimistic, angry approaches to life, to situations, to differences. Here's what happens the moment you step onto the turf at the Spartan and the Tough Mudder world. You're so overwhelmed with positivity and healthy optimism and love. It's like the land of 10,000 fist bumps, high fives, and hugs for the next 2 to 3 hours or 24 hours. So if maybe you are a person that's tend to always lean towards negativity and just anger and hate, you're going to be so outnumbered that they find themselves correcting on the spot and not letting that poison out.
Yeah.
I've interviewed people where it's that made me better. You've said that at the start lines. The next 24 hours is going to make you better. And I don't know your words are priceless, but you nail it all the time, because I'm not who I am today at 50 without the 70 or 80 Spartan and Tough Mudder start lines that I've walked up to and just blood, sweat, and tears out there with all the people. And it made me better. And so that person person A over here, that's normally the negative, hate, divisive person, they leave there a fraction better. They hung out with all the positivity for a while. They're a little better on the ride home.
Yeah.
And some of that sticks.
Yeah. And what I've been feeling lately at these events also is because of the stress that COVID has brought, all the stuff you hear, what's going on in the world. When people feel that camaraderie and that community at these events now, man, they are embracing it heavily. So I hope you feel that you're a part of that, man. You're a part of my message to these people. I hope you feel that too. You're in there also. I consider you a mirror man, showing these people with how awesome they are. They get to see that through you. Now, I love doing this in my interviews with people. I want to go back, because I hear that soulfulness in your voice when you're talking about this thing that you love. You're like a soul singer. But take me back to little Yancy. Where was little Yancy born, raised? What was life like that got him to this journey where he is now?
I was born in British Columbia, Canada. It wasn't up there too long. And my parents migrated back down to Texas, where both of them, when they were born, and spent most of my childhood in north central Texas, out on hundreds of acres in the middle of nowhere, Texas, free to roam and play. And as a kid, so when these events allow me to go back to my childhood, I grew up playing in the woods and just had a lot of freedom. Worked really hard. Didn't have a lot of if I wanted to have some social activity with people other than my family, I was running 3 or 4 miles down the road to a friend's house, or through the woods, or down through the creek. Grew up playing sports my whole life. Was always a runner. I always tell the story. We grew up on 200 acres, and my grandparents owned part of it off to the left, and we had this plot on the right. And my dad really got me into competition and taking, as I say, taking care of my beautiful machine. He was a big proponent in, we're given this body so we can always say yes to everything the beautiful world, this beautiful planet of ours provides. And he, don't live a sloppy life. Take care of your beautiful machine. So you serve yourself, so you could then in turn serve others with your body. Take care of yourself in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and even teenage years. So when you wake up and you're my age, you can still use your beautiful machine to serve. So a lot of fitness in my life, a lot of activity, a lot of purposeful activity. So I really and truly, I always coach parents on, you got to mesh fitness into those 0 to 18 years, and taking care of the mind and the body, and don't disrespect yourself. This is what we have, man. And I'm proud of the fact that I'm 50 and I say no to nothing. If my kids want to go somewhere, vacation that's going to be physically active, not only are we going, you try to stay up with me. And 20 years from now, 10, 20 years now, that'll be my grandkids. And I still want to be able to say yes. So my childhood was filled with, it was a very active lifestyle, a lot of team sports, a lot of gracious, my parents never forced me to do anything. They graciously kind of herded me into directions that put me on teams and competition and taking care of myself and respecting myself through sport and fitness. So an amazing childhood. So I feel like it's our responsibility. You do a phenomenal job at it. It's like not every young man or woman had that growing up. I feel blessed that I had that gracious pushing. So it's like we get the opportunity through what we provide to provide that for some people that never had any of that type of coaching. So, I consider myself lucky.
Yeah.
That I had that, and it played a huge role in kind of molding me who I am today.
Yeah. You had me you were born in Canada. I have yet to meet a Canadian I did not like. So that was great. Happy.
But until I joined the military, I was dual citizen until I joined the military, for U.S. military. But yeah, that birth certificate's Merritt, British Columbia.
Yeah.
But not too far from where Allison Ty lives now.
Another beautiful person, and
one of my favorite.
Happy belated Father's Day to you also. I say it all the time.
Thank you, my friend.
Good parenting. To me, you guys are our original heroes on this world and our lives, raising our future heroes. So you represent that well also, sir. And I see your wife, Amy, is that correct? Because if it isn't, we'll edit this right out.
Amy Culp, yes.
Yes. And
she's my better half.
Yeah, she's on the website with you, board certified specialist in sports dietetics. Yep. And registered and licensed dietitian, nutrition, and therapist. So she's in there with you as far as fitness and health, well-being, and all that stuff. How'd y'all meet?
A lot of people think we're high school sweethearts, but when I was a senior in high school in small town Munster, Texas, one stoplight, 1,500 people, she was in 8th grade. So we didn't even really know each other back then. But her mom, true story, her mom was my home economics teacher. I don't know what they call it now, maybe something different. Family consumer science, I think. But back then it was home economics. You probably get in trouble for saying that these days. But anyway, she was my home economics teacher. So, and then I go off to I go off to run track at University of North Texas. I go off to the Navy, and I come back, and she, I'm probably 22 now. She's 18, I think, give or take a year. And I'm like, dang, she's kind of cute. And we went out on a date, and then it just kind of that was about it. And we had a couple dates, and she went off to Texas Tech, going to school. It's physical therapy at the time. I'm still in the military out in Alameda, California, up in the Bay Area.
Woo, that's where I grew up.
She comes. Oh, awesome, man! I love it up there. I could be a tour guide. I spent a lot of time up there, but she comes to visit me, and she's like, "It's beautiful out here." Texas Tech, where she going? It rains mud out there and smells like cow shit. It's Texas Tech, but it's in the middle. It's in the middle of nowhere. She comes to visit me, and then long distance relationship a little bit, and then I transfer to San Diego. I'm working for a company down there, and she comes and visits me at San Diego. I was like, maybe you could transfer San Diego State. So she finished up at San Diego State, and then we were married in 2001. She's a rock star. She is the Director of Sports Performance Nutrition for the University of Texas Longhorn Athletic Department. She takes care of all the sports for the Texas Longhorns, who just won the President's Cup for the most successful athletic program in the nation 2 years in a row. Stanford had won it forever. And she's also the president of the Collegiate and Professional Sports Dietetic Association. So, you have people like Krena Coffin, RDs, and it's a small community of rock stars that just love serving people through sports performance nutrition, clinical nutrition, and everything in between. And yeah, for somebody that's an old fitness coach for many, many years, it provides for she keeps me in line and helps me serve my athletes through nutrition. It's hard for us to admit sometimes, but the nutrition piece is probably more important than the fitness piece in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, yeah, I've got an amazing, rock solid, rock star wife in Amy, and we've got the 2 kids, Scout and Lily, here in North Austin, and loving life, man. I have to pinch myself every day, Sean. I've got it. I'm a blessed man, my friend.
So you've been training, as you said, or just mentioned, for a long time. How do you keep people motivated when they're coming and working with you?
So two things. One, I've gotten a little better at this as I've gotten older, and I've learned to be a little more direct, but I always say be graciously direct. You can get away with just about anything you want to get away with as long as you're gracious with your presentation. And sometimes we need to be direct. I'm just going to be gracious about it. So I'm pretty pushy on people. And something I'll dive in a little deeper on something that I said earlier is I look at it as I've always said when I tell somebody, hey, we need to respect ourselves, or don't disrespect your body. That's always, I've learned that kind of pulls people to the edge of their seat. And when I say be selfish with your time, we got to be creative. Being a good fitness coach is about 80% plus mental conditioning from the chin up. And then they're thinking, well, how many sets and reps and how long do I got to run and what do I need to do? That's kind of chin down stuff. If I'm going to spend more time mentally conditioning than physically conditioning, and the physical condition falls into place. So getting people to value, paint that picture of what it means to respect your body. And I say like don't live a sloppy life. My wife and I call it, fun foods or having a fun event every now and then. You enjoy that stuff periodically. You don't try to live a perfect life, but about 80-90% of the time, we need to respect this machine that we were given because it's got a beautiful purpose on life to serve ourselves and serve others. And when we truly take care of it, there's a lot we can do with it. If I'm overweight and unfit and unhealthy, I can't do the things I love. So 50 is just a number for me, but it's not a braggadocious thing. It's like I've spent my whole life being consistent with fitness. And this is what I get to enjoy life at 50 plus, doing a lot of fun stuff. So I really try to graciously, aggressively press what it means to take care of yourself in 20s, 30s, and 40s and what that's going to look like, what your life could look like if you don't. You're going to be saying a lot of, no, I can't do that. And that's a bad place to be. So if I can catch somebody anywhere, I don't care what age they are, and I catch them and get them to wrap their mind around, okay, I'm just going to start stacking good day on top of good day. And I'll wake up however many months from now. It's like, wow, I'm a much better version of myself. And I'm now saying yes to a lot of stuff. So really and truly, I love training the high level athletes, but the greatest reward for every coach, well, they're lying to you if they tell you otherwise. When you get to reach somebody that was in a bad way and was disrespecting your body, and you get to their body and you reverse that, it's a beautiful thing. And we see so much of that on the Tough Mudder courses and the Spartan courses. People that they tell the stories like, man, I did my first race. I was 100 pounds overweight, and I've done 25 events now, and I'm addicted. And I always say there's one addiction that's a beautiful addiction: fitness. It's actually proven. I had Kelly McGonigal on the Spartan Up podcast one time. She's a health psychologist and a fitness coach. She said it is an absolute addiction. And there's the dopamine releases, the endocannabinoid releases, things that happen in the body. It's the greatest drug on planet Earth. And the greatest mental clarity you get is when you're out there sweating and just putting your body through the ringer. It's like this beautiful clarity. Anything you and I can do to like pull somebody to the edge of their seat and say, wait a second, maybe today is the day I decide to jump into that journey. And the cool part about Tough Mudder and Spartan, everything we provide, and Trail or DECA, it's just a start line. And there's a lot of start lines we provide. And when you find that finish line, research shows this, exercise adherence goes up. We set the hook a little bit. We're Spartan and Tough Mudder are great at throwing the line out there, and we set hooks and we lock you in a little bit. And that's a powerful thing. We have tens of millions of people have crossed our finish lines, and they're a better version for it. So we're doing good work, man.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. I feel like this is I've spoke to you in the past. There were brief moments because you were working at the time and busy and doing other stuff, and just the situation that we were in. But this is the first time I actually got to sit and actually speak with you for a time. And to me, this feels like an ongoing conversation, a conversation that's going to go on for life, man. I'm glad I
love it.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to share the screen with you again on these things and see you at these events. And I will always throw a mic in your hand if you're ever there near the circle, because you got a lot to say to these people that are very positive, very positive. That's what I'm about. Before I get you out of here, Yancy, I always have two questions that I ask my guests. One is a quote that was passed down to me by one of our Legionnaires. I love to tell this story. A gentleman named Craig. A few years ago, I got to visit Craig in the hospital just before he passed away of cancer. He told me when he was diagnosed, he started living by this quote. It became a motto for him. Then it became a motto for me. And I brought it back to Mother Nation. And over the years, they made it so popular that it became a song by Darius Rucker. And
oh my God.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And let me tell you this. Okay, let me say this real fast. Last year at our World Toughest Mudder event in Laughlin, like I said, I felt like that the Mudder Nation, they made that song. Somehow they got it to Darius Rucker or his writers. And in the lyrics of that song, he actually says running barefoot in the mud. Last year, doing World Toughest Mudder, I think it was around 10 p.m. at night, he was literally performing in an outside theater right across the street. Played that song, and they all got to hear it that night. Cosmic, something going on in the universe, I don't know, but pretty freaking cool. Huh?
Wow.
So, with that being said, the quote is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? When was it? What was it?
I was visiting my father on Father's Day, Sunday, and we have always had an insanely amazing relationship, full of love, just an overabundance of love. But I was sitting there out on the porch. We had coffee. I raced Spartan Stadium, did the deck on the floor, stadium floor. And mom and dad are 90 minutes north. So I said, I'm driving up for Father's Day. And I got up and had coffee with him that next morning, mom and dad. And it hit me, Sean, that there was a tiny bit of surface level, the surface level, like not allowing, for some reason, I think guys may be a little worse at it than girls, but for some reason, I was like, it hit me that we kind of keep it surface level sometimes here at the Culp house. Tons of love, don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful household they provided. And I said, I think it may be my fault. And it just, something came over me, and I allowed, so to answer your question, I allowed myself to just go graciously deep in conversation. And it just flourished into amazing sharing of childhood memories and things that they did and the reason they did them the way they did it and the struggles that they had. And it was like this awesome, deep conversation. And so something hit me. So it's cool that you asked this question. And it took me about a minute to even come up with my answer was going to be. When it hit me, I knew what it was. I allowed myself to go way deeper than surface level. And I think we all need to do that more often. Like, allow yourself to just go, like get down in the dirt and just have that real conversation and have them and both parties have that agreement that, hey, listen, we're going to forgive each other. We're going to get very real with each other and we'll be better at the end. So that was it, man. Dad and I and mom chimed in, and it was like laughing and crying and laughing and crying. And it was beautiful. So that's the answer, brother.
Great answer. And my final question to you, sir. All right. You're out there doing your thing. Maybe you're just out there jogging, running, training somebody, and you guys come across this lamp on the ground. Pick it up. You do what everybody does when they find a lamp, wipe it off. Out pops me, the genie in the lamp. Been in there for millions and trillions of centuries. So happy that you finally freed me. Yancy, I'm not going to give you 3 wishes. I am going to give you the ultimate gift in the world. I am going to give you, in this moment, the undivided attention of the world. In this moment, Yancy, you have the world's ears. They stop doing what they're doing, and they're listening to you. What do you say to the world in this moment?
At this moment to the world, this is what I say. I'm going to encourage you, each and every one of you listening, that from this day forward, starting today and from this point forward, you are going to conduct your life the way you communicate. Every aspect of your life, from the time you roll out of bed and allow your feet to hit the floor, in every waking moment of that day, you are going to communicate in a way that is authentic and honest, and never allow yourself to deviate from being a loving, caring, selfless person who is always striving to serve everybody in your circle. You will never allow yourself to deviate from that path from when that greedy situation is presented to you. And Sean, I'm gonna paraphrase a post that I made the other day, and it was when Matthew McConaughey made his speech after the Uvalde shooting, and I was saying that we find ourselves in a world with so many issues, and I'm still talking to the people, by the way. We find ourselves in situations where there's so many issues, and our leaders, this is where our leaders fail us on both sides of the aisle. As a leader for Spartan, I have to be able to take my shoes off and put the people's shoes on every single day and never expect them to put my shoes on, because I got plugged into the leadership role. We have leaders all over our country that are in leadership roles, and you got to be able to take your shoes off. Ultimately, everybody leads. Everybody has some type of leadership role. And if you're leading one human or 75 million humans, every day it's like, I'm going to take my shoes off and put theirs on and see it from their vision and their view. And I'm going to lead them and serve them with every ounce of energy. And I will never allow myself to be steered down a path that is dishonest or is not gravitating towards serving the people that I am leading. Man, I wish I had about 30 minutes for that answer, Sean. That's in summary, that's kind of, I wish you and I had that opportunity, you and I with our arms around each other, to grab the mic and speak to the whole freaking country, because they need to hear more of that.
Well, you know what? Like I said, this is a continued conversation. So like you said, we can have that. We can continue this conversation in front of the people. You know, you got things to say.
Good stuff, man.
You got good stuff to say. I'm going to give you the 80s, early 90s movies clap when everybody realized the protagonist was more awesome than they thought. It started off slow and sped up. Yeah, we love this guy. Yeah, it was a great show. Yancy Culp, thank you,
Much
my man.
Much love, brother. Much love, man. Thank you, my friend. Be good.
You can find Tough Mudder on Facebook and Twitter. That will be at Tough Mudder, or on Instagram, also at Tough_Mudder. And please remember, you can find this podcast, No Excuses, on wherever you listen to podcasts. Guys, subscribe. Let me know what you like, what you're not liking, and I will be including you as much as possible and even more in the future.
Inspirational.
Be inspired.
Inspire.
No excuses.
Motivational.
Be motivated.
Motivate. No excuses.
No whining.
No quitting. Overcome.
No excuses.
Community. Teamwork.
Tough Mudder.
Tougher together.
No excuses.